Yep.
Welcome, everyone, to the Northeast Indiana Basketball Summit. I'm your host, Ben Smith, joined by my co-host, Jeff Metzger. Before introducing our guest, we want to thank Feel for the Game for providing the platform to have all these presentations live and available for replay. You can check out all the resources over at feelforthegame.com.
Yep. So today we have Trey Moses. He graduated from Eastern High School in Louisville, Kentucky. He played 4 years at Ball State University in Muncie, Indiana, and we're excited to have him. He graduated with an early childhood education major, and today we're going to talk about mental health as it is May Mental Health Awareness Month. Trey, anything you'd like to say before we begin?
I just appreciate you guys having me. I think, kind of my conversation with mental health is one that needs to be had, not only in the month of May, but just kind of in general, especially for athletes.
Definitely. So we're just going to dive right in. Why is mental health awareness so important?
For me, I feel like I was just given God gave me this platform and this stage to kind of talk about what matters most to me. And, it was not that it has changed, but it was, children with disabilities. And I was given a lot of my time, back to them. And then I kind of came to terms with my mental health. And it's just like, I have this stage and this platform. And I feel like mental health is something that's not talked about a ton. And, it's something that it should be. So I kind of wanted to, my freshman or sophomore year in college, I really just started to speak out on it more and try to be an advocate for those who deal with mental health issues.
Right. So a couple fun questions before we dig deeper into that. What was the transition like from high school to college for you?
It was a tough one. I feel like we didn't lift much in high school at all. We didn't lift. I was more plyometric. So the transition was tough for me because I was like high body fat and low muscle mass. So it was like like the worst combination you could have. But it was my freshman summer. I was like, there's no way I'm redshirting. I'm not I don't want to be here 5 years. Hindsight 2020, I look back and I'm like, maybe I should have redshirted. But I had a great freshman year, played, started games and stuff, but it was a tough transition, just getting in shape and losing weight and just trying to get stronger.
Mm-hmm. What made you choose Ball State out of all places you can go?
Yeah, so I feel like I have an interesting recruiting story. Like I didn't have a single offer before July going into my senior year, and from July to the beginning of August, I got 12 Division I offers. And my final five was like Ball State, IPFW, NKU. Man, I feel like it was so long ago. VMI and the Ryder, I think, because dang, I feel bad now, but he played for the Cavaliers. He was the coach there. And so I don't know why, but I wanted to commit before my senior year, and it was just something that, I took the visit to Ball State, and I kind of had every intention to commit there. I was closest with the VMI coaches, and I just visited there the week before. And I get to Ball State, and I'm like, I think I'm going to end up committing there. Just VMI just wasn't for me, like the military side of stuff. I'm Sunday, the last day of my visit, I'm with Coach Witt, and he kind of gives his little spiel, and I feel like a lot of coaches hit players with this. He was just like, we got a big coming in next weekend, and if he kind of commits, that's your offer. I was like, you don't got to worry about it. I had already planned on committing anyway. So that's just kind of how it went for me. It was big on education. I was a special education major going into college, so it was just something that Ball State just had such a good education program that I felt like it was kind of best for me.
Right. And we've seen you do a lot with the Best Buddies organization. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so I started Best Buddies in high school, and it was something where I didn't know much about it, and through Corey Pitsenberger, Ellie Meredith, Blake Cummins, 3 people that I would say kind of started my, passion for those with disabilities and wanting to make the world a better place for them. And, I continued on into college and, I love Best Buddies because it, unites those with disabilities with those without, and just shows that like people with disabilities can do anything that people without disabilities can do. It's, they're just unfairly labeled a lot of the times. And I think it's important that, we kind of end that label. And I think a big mission for Best Buddies is to kind of end the R word, which for me, I haven't really seen or heard it in a long time. So I feel like, it's kind of, I'm kind of doing my job amongst my friends and, family members who had maybe once used it and aren't using it anymore.
Mhm. And yeah, it's definitely not, I don't see it a lot either. I also work with kids and adults, special needs during the summer. And I haven't heard it a lot either, which is very
Yeah.
nice.
hmm
So after you graduated college, you play in Bulgaria, right?
So I was in Bulgaria from August until December, well, early January. I played my last game in December, but we decided to part ways. And I was in Australia for 12 days before the
Okay.
pandemic kind of really picked up. But I plan on going back to Australia next year.
And I heard rumblings you're going to move back to Muncie, Indiana, right?
Yeah, so I'm, moving back to Muncie to teach. Super excited about it, just to kind of within a year get to kind of do all my passions again, which is, teach, play basketball. Like it's
Right.
kind of the best of both worlds.
Mm. And so to touch back on the mental health, when did you first feel that the platform you were given was able for you to share your story? When did you feel like you could?
I would say the platform I gained was after I asked Ellie to prom my senior year. I gained like 2 to 4,000 followers after that.
Mhm.
And, I'm sitting at, 8 to 9,000 followers going into my freshman year. And it was kind of like my freshman and sophomore year where like I really just saw the number of followers I had on different social media platforms. And it's just like, I could be selfish with that. I could make everything about me, or I could, try to give back in some way, be a voice for someone that, may not have a voice, may not, no one, not a lot of people may listen to them, or they just simply don't feel like many people listen. Um, and so I wanted to just give back, and I wanted to not be selfish with the platform that God had given me.
Right. So as far as when you're playing on a team, what are some ways coaches can identify different mental health conditions within their players?
Yeah, so I would say it's not even necessarily about identifying, it's just about caring about your players. I was lucky to have a coach who, even before he knew everything I was going through, would call me into his office once a week, or before or after practice, say like, how's your day today? How's everything going? Like, I had a great coaching staff that genuinely cared more about me than, as about more than just a basketball player. And it's kind of funny that I'm going to say this, but Coach Witt always used to say like he doesn't care about the wins and losses. That's his job, but he doesn't care about. He's more concerned about grooming young men.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I feel like as coaches, calling your players in, every once in a while, talking to them not just about basketball. Like, no one wants to sit here and talk just about basketball. We're more than basketball players. We're student athletes. We have passions outside of basketball. We have different things we do outside of basketball, and it's important that coaches kind of understand that. Like, you need to let your players live. You need to let your players truly get to know you as a coach, but as a person, and for you to get to know them not only as a player but as a person. And then
Right.
the wins will come. the more you care about your teammates, the more you guys all are family, the more wins will come. And even if they don't come, it's never going to be, obviously you're going to be upset if you're not winning, but it's going to come to a point in time where it's more about small victories rather than wins and losses. Because, you know, Duke, we could have played Duke and they could have beat us by 30, but, you know, that's what Duke was supposed to do.
Right.
But we could have went in there and our goal could have been, let's just make it a competitive game. Let's do such and such, and we could lose by 30. And if we do what we had planned before the game, then we leave, you know, knowing that we created small victories. And you know, I just think those are important, and not even just in the athlete's life. I think it's important to, you know, just as people who aren't athletes, to just live by small victories.
Yeah, definitely. That hit me hard. You're very right on that. Um, and so you started at 24 Reasons Why, kind of like a podcast, on your Instagram Live. Can you tell us what made you start that?
Yeah, so you know, 24 Reasons is kind of the foundation I started, and um, I won't get into a ton of that, but I wanted to start a mental wealth series and kind of just give back to people. You know, it's one of those things where I have that platform. You know, I went and spoke at the AllStar Game this year, and I got to meet just so many people, and it was just like I have all these connections now. Like, why would I not want to? Like, why would I not give back and allow people to hear things that they don't always hear? Like Darius Miles is a little more open. I mean, you know, he's written
Yeah.
something, but it's like now you're hearing from all these people that you may not know their story, and their story may, you know, speak to you. I think I saw Brittany's name in here, but you know, her story yesterday was impactful on me as a person. Like I knew she had been injured, but her telling her story was impactful on me. And it's like there's no saying how many other stories have impacted, you know, different people. And if it's, you know, one person that gets impacted, then, you know, my job's kind of done. But I feel like, you know, as like the host, I guess, of the mental wealth series, I know that it's impacting more than just one person.
Definitely. I've had a lot of people, you know, I usually share it to my story every day. I've had a lot of people respond, and they really love it. So thank you for that.
Yeah, appreciate
Something I look forward to as well every night at 8, you know. It's my community. So who would when you presented at the All-Star Game, what was that like, you know, being around all these celebrities and they want to hear your story?
Yeah, so it was kind of like a weird situation. So I was with the Kennedy Foundation, but I was also with Athletes in Action.
Yeah.
So I presented with the Kennedy Foundation with Kevin Blackistone, Shamika Holslaw, LZ Granderson. You know, Meta World Peace was supposed to be there. He didn't end up coming, but you know, we got to all talk to these members of the community of Chicago, and it was awesome for me to see people like me out there, like young African American males who, you know, just need someone to lean on. And I wanted to be that for them, and I got to know them. And I think that, like, more like, forget the celebrity, like that was my favorite part, was just looking out and seeing like people like me that you could tell they were inspired. You can tell they were watching. Like it would have been different if I looked out and they were on their phone, but I'm looking out and I'm making eye contact with you know, these young men. And I think that's important for you know, people in areas like that, to see people like them come and give back time, give back money, put into where they are, put into different things that they're involved in. And you know, I felt like you know, I feel like you can always do more, but I felt like I did my job, and I wanted to just do more in the long run one day. But celebrity wise, like, it was awesome. Like it was, you know, just getting to meet all these people from, you know, I posted pictures, but Rip Hamilton, Gary Payton, Darius Miles, Q Rich, Shamika Holslaw, um, man, J. Cole. Like I got to meet all these people, and it was amazing. Like that's all I can say is like it was absolutely amazing, and just seeing how people like that move, like understanding that I don't know why, but we look at celebrities as like these super beings, and they can't be like these are normal people too. They were so cool. I remember Sean Marion looking over at me and was just like, "What's up?" And it was just like, dude, like I remember watching you on TV with Steve Nash. Like you guys are my favorite team. And just knowing that like these dudes are normal too, and not that I ever act immortal to anyone, because I don't. Everyone that knows me knows that I give back. But just knowing that I now have, anytime I talk to young athletes, I'm now able to talk about these moments as like, you're never too big to give back. You're never too big to talk to anybody. You're never too big to do anything. So why, as star athletes, do we oftentimes act like that? Because you're not bigger than Sean Marion. You're not bigger than Darius Miles. Like Darius Miles is, third pick overall, one of the best high school players of all time. Like you're not bigger than that. And so it's just trying to get these young guys to just understand that, really. And it was just another opportunity for me to create more connections and kind of give back.
Okay. So with all those people you met, is there any quote or anything they said to you that really sticks out?
I mean, Darius for me was everything.
Mhm.
I knew who he was, and it was one of those things where Shamika like introduced us. It's like, yo, Darius, Inspiration Award winner, Trey Moses right here from the NCAA. And he was like, what up? And then I talked to him, and just like he gave me his number, and I was shocked. Like I really was. Like I didn't, because okay, long story short, we weren't even supposed to be at this party. This was NJ's son's party, and but I don't want you to like, it's not like a party. It's just like everyone goes, and but Shamika like talked with us at that thing with the Kennedy Foundation. She's like, hey, you guys, like I'm probably not going to go, but you guys can still get in. And then she ended up going with us, and she introduced us to every person I named. But back to Derek, like he gave me his number. It's just like, if you ever need anything or just want to talk, don't hesitate. Just let me know. And there's been, that was in February. We're in what, May right now? It's like I feel like I can't remember the months. But it's been like I've talked to him every couple of weeks, every once a month kind of thing, and he replies. I had him on my show.
Yep.
And it's one of those things where it's just like he once again proved that you're never too big. I know he's busy with his podcast. I know he's busy with family and stuff, but he gave back time. He gives back time, and I think for me it's just continuing to show that what I'm doing is needed and what I'm doing is important, because I respond to a DM from a young fan. Like they could be looking at me the same way I look at Darius.
Right. That's very important for you to have that mentality towards this.
Yeah.
Especially, I'm going to refer to this a lot. You inspired me to start sharing my story, and I've just started that up. So thank you. And this is, it's incredible talking to you, because I've always, wanted to.
Yeah.
And so you just inspire a lot.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. And so I understand you have a lot of tattoos. Can you tell me the meaning behind the FTK tattoo?
Yeah. So, I got into dance marathon my sophomore year. And dance marathon raises money for Riley Hospital for Children. And my sophomore year, I just went with a friend whose mom had brought her high schoolers up, and I was like, what is this? Like, I'm just seeing a bunch of people dressed, in tutus and different stuff. And I'm like, okay, like this is kind of whatever. And so I met Mickey Deputy, who has Down syndrome. And from there, we kind of just became super close. And ended up meeting her family, and their family's like another family for me. And then going into my junior year, I actually created a team for Dance Marathon. It was like me and my closest friends. And, my goal was like, at first you have to raise $100 to dance. And um, I kept increasing my goal, but I ended up raising $4,000. And it was just something like, wow, like I know like I'm making a difference. And so my senior year, I joined a committee, which was Riley Relations. And we work more with the families and
Mhm.
making sure everything's good. And that was just another family for me. I missed a lot of the meetings because we played on Tuesdays and our meetings were on Tuesdays. And if we had away games, then I couldn't be there. But if we had home games, then I was there late.
Mhm.
But it was awesome. And I think my original goal, I think, was $5,000 or something like that. Or I might have just kept increasing it like the year before. But it was like halfway through the marathon on Saturday. And I was like, Mickey, if I can get $5,000 raised, I'll let you draw me a dance marathon tattoo and I'll get it. And probably like 2 hours before the marathon was over, I ended up getting like $200 donations. And that ended up putting me over 5K. And I ended up with like $5,100. And so in the 2 years I, really participated, I raised $9,100. And,
Mhm.
a lot of people were like, oh my gosh, like how, like it was never about like me wanting to be the highest fundraiser just because like I wanted my name up there or whatever. But it was like I wanted to raise as much money as I could because I knew I could do it. I knew I had like I talk about the platform a lot. Like I knew I had the platform to raise that money. Like I have all these followers. I have, I was able to hit up former basketball players. I was able to hit up a lot of people affiliated with Ball State. And it's just like, if I knew that, why wouldn't I? Like, why would I not try to push myself? And so a couple days later, I ended up getting a tattoo. She loved it. she she loved it, and it's just one of those things that obviously I'll remember her forever, regardless. But I'll remember her, and I'll remember Dance Marathon and how much work myself and my team put in. Raising money and just trying to do the best that we can.
All right. I love that. So when you hear it's okay to not be okay, I've heard you say that a lot. Can you explain the deeper meaning to that for you?
Yes. So, for you, like you mentioned, you shared your story because, kind of because of me. And
Mhm.
it's all about being okay with who you are. Everyone struggles, but not everybody's okay with admitting they struggle. Not everybody's okay
Mhm.
to admitting they're sad. And it's kind of the same thing, I tell my preschoolers, like, it's okay to cry. Like, it's okay to feel like you're supposed to feel. We're humans. Like, we were created
Mhm.
that way. We weren't meant to bottle everything up. And so it's okay not to be okay is just saying like it's okay for you to feel sad, to be mad, to be dealing with a depressive episode, to be anxious, because that's all better than like you not being here.
Mhm.
I would rather have to be here for you as a friend, not have to, but I would rather be here for you as a friend,
Mhm.
helping you deal with whatever you have to be there or going through, than be there for you at your funeral. And it it's something that I always said, but it was super tough after losing Zach, kind of just dealing with that. And it's
Mhm.
so after I always said it's okay not to be okay, but after I ended up meeting with someone who I told my story to, and she was like, let's change that it's okay not to be okay to it's okay not to be okay, because that's better than not being here.
All
And I
right.
think that just kind of opens up a lot of people more and allows them to just because you can't there's nothing else you can say besides that's right. Like you can't say anything more. You can't.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important just to truly understand that it's okay not to be okay, because that's better than you not being here.
Right. And so let's say we'll put this on YouTube after we're done. If someone listens to this and they want someone to share their story with, how do they go about that without being uncomfortable?
Yeah, so for me, I don't know if it's necessarily just about sharing your story only.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you
yeah.
want to share your story, then, by all means do it. But I think it's starting in small steps and just telling your close people, like, hey, I'm really down today, or I'm really sad today, or whatever emotion you're feeling that's not like happy. Like you should tell your friends you're happy too, but it's all about starting to be vulnerable, and you don't get vulnerable by only telling the good moments. You become vulnerable by telling the moments that make you sad, make you unhappy, make you down. And so, just I was always told not everyone needs to know, just a few good people.
Yeah.
And it's up to you to tell those few good people. And so those few good people are going to be people in your circle. And it's kind of all about knowing, like, yeah, like your good people are going to always be there, but it's also knowing that the day, like, you kind of will notice yourself become more distant, and your good people deserve to know why that is. And it's not because, you know, they'll they'll get mad at you for becoming distant, but it's just about being open. Because if you were to become distant with me, I may be like, and I not know, I may be like, dang, like, maybe things are changing. Maybe we're not as close as I genuinely thought we were. Maybe, whatever it is. And so for me, I really try to be open and communicate with my people. Like, if I'm down, if I'm sad, upset, mad, like, my people are gonna know, and they're gonna not necessarily know why, because not everyone needs to know why, but just know that, like, hey, like, I'm going through it today, so I may be a little distant, I may be a little, whatever it is. And I think it's important that, the more you become vulnerable, the easier it is for you one day to then be able to tell your story to your friends on why, you're going through what you're going through, because it's not easy. I know it's not. It's not something that's gonna happen overnight.
Right.
But at the end of the day, um, the more vulnerable you become, the more vulnerable, your friends will become too. And in the long run, you guys will become most vulnerable with each other, and then that is now changing the stigma around mental health.